Hey, what's up, guys? So, look what the FedEx guy just dropped off. It is the new Redline 360c, a nice reflective package, so you can see me live streaming too. I figure let's go ahead and open this bad boy up and take a look at what's inside. I've got a whole bunch of detectors here on hand to compare it against. We'll just take a look at what's included. I've got a list of things that I want to take a look at. Let me know over in the chat area any questions that you guys have or things that you're curious about as well. This just was announced yesterday. I had it overnighted here so that we could sit down and go ahead and take a look at it. It's on back order now. So if you want one, yeah, I've got a link in the video description. They're supposed to resume shipping by the end of next week or so, but they are on back order. So if you want, let's take a look. There's also like a coupon code for a free 3-year Defender database subscription. If you want that too, you do have to add it to cart when you're also doing the Redline. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. Let's open this guy up. So it's shiny and reflective, so let's get it out of the shrink wrap. So hopefully it'll look a little better on camera. I literally haven't, well, obviously it's in the shrink wrap, so I haven't looked at it yet either. All right, let's get this out of here. So packaging is nice. It's definitely better than what I've seen with previous Escort detectors. Usually they have kind of this like bluish style, kind of blue and black, but this is like red and black. It's nice actually. So let's see, it kind of opens up differently. Oh, wow, look at that. Kind of like a book. So interesting. All the stuff kind of around the packaging, kind of what are the sales pitches that they're saying? So the most powerful driver alert system, twice the range, true stealth, and 300-degree protection, or 360-degree protection. We'll test it out. I got my Spectre here, so we'll actually do a quick Spectre test as well. Let's see, what else? Unmatched Escort detection range, dual antennas, true 360, whatever, stealth, auto lockouts, cloud alerts, Wi-Fi for in-vehicle updates and community alerts, and yeah, pictures of the detector. Twice the range of what? So they're saying twice the range of the Redline EX. It is a 6 dB increase, they're saying. So in ideal situations, it should have twice the range. That'll vary, of course, in practice, depending on conditions and whatever. But yeah, it should have better sensitivity. So let's take a look here. We open it up. This is really nicely packaged. Good job, Escort, on the packaging here. This is a nice step up. Even the box feels good. So let's put this away. Same range as the Redline O. Maybe. I've got the O and the EX actually coming in. Big thanks to Smoke and You 454 and Best Radar Detectors. Those guys actually just sent them over, so we'll have them on hand for testing this weekend. All right, so we've got our packaging stuff. Congratulations. If you need help, call Escort. What else have we got here? The Quick Start Guide and the Detector. So as far as the Quick Start Guide, we'll just take a look at it. Looks like just explains the buttons and mounting and the app. So great. All right. Your mic is repeating everything you say, so it's hard to listen. That's weird. Hopefully the audio sounds good. Does it sound good to the rest of you guys? Hopefully it should be okay. So it looks like we've got the soft carrying case. Same as we get with like other detectors. Well, some of them, they have the hard ones. Fine here. Good. I'm glad the audio is there. So yes, $750 for this. This is now the newest, most expensive detector, plus tax. And yeah, I think I paid $800, almost $900 actually, $860, something like that, with Washington State tax and shipping and all, but expensive, yes. So let's open it up. We've got the detector, which we'll go ahead and take a look at. We have the sticky cup, which is included. We should have a power cable. Yes, we do. We got a power cable, and we have, that's it. So cool. We've got our case. We'll put that aside. Let's take a look real quick. Power cable. So looks like it is the Escort Smart Cord. It's got a mute button, remote alert LED, and a USB port to charge your phone. Very nice. It's got, yeah, RJ11, cool. Standard smart cord, all that kind of stuff. Bluetooth, of course, is built into the detector, not the cable. So we have the sticky cup here. This looks like the same sticky cup that they've been using for the Max 360C, the IXC, all that kind of stuff. So good mount. We'll take a look at this here in just a second as well. Thanks, Jib Jab, for the super chat thing. Let's see. Okay, so here is the detector. This is a hefty detector. Okay, so this is what everybody I know wants to see, myself included. So it is big. It is, well, it's definitely hefty and solid. There's no doubt about it. This is a pretty heavy detector. I'm sure with the dual M3 antennas and now the additional rear antenna, it's kind of a matte black finish. Maybe plastic. I'm not sure if it's magnesium or plastic. I think it's plastic, but it feels good. It's kind of matte textured. See if you can kind of see it in the light. Feels good. Let's take off the plastic covering the horns. So we've got ourselves the two horns right here. One is for X-band, the other is for K and KA. And then we have the third horn right here. Let's go ahead and get it powered on as well. So get this taken off. And what are you guys wondering about? Let's see. Does it detect GATSO4? I'm curious. So I have that on my list of things to check out. Once we get it fired up, I'll pull up the Escort Live app and we'll go through the different settings. Take a look at all the MRCD, the GATSO, all that. I saw they mentioned possibly an international version. So we'll take a look at what this includes in terms of low-powered radar detection. Let's see. All righty. Let's go ahead and get this powered on. The display looks good. It looks kind of tiny, I guess, relative to the rest of the detector, but it looks fine. Yeah, let's go ahead and just fire up a radar gun real quick. Let's hear the good old Escort tones. Oh, does it do the thing where, yeah. Either overdriving or sometimes Escort detectors take like 10 seconds or so before they power up and start detecting. But it should respond better now. Let's take another look. There we go. So the arrows take up now kind of like the whole top and bottom here. They're definitely bigger arrows than the Max 360c. We'll do a size comparison here in just a second. But yeah, let's take a look. So the top, here it is. It's kind of this square shape. We've got all our buttons here. Hopefully this feels good. It's the double press thing, just like the Max 360c. If you can hear this, there's 2 clicks when you go down to the mute button. Let's see if the first one actually mutes the detector. Oh, there we go. It does. Okay. It does. Okay, cool. So you don't have to go all the way down. It's a weird thing. Anyway, glad to see that that works. It's kind of raised here for the volume up and down and for the mark button. Let's do a volume adjustment. Okay. So sensitivity.
X, auto low, K, highway, auto.
Okay, cool. Brightness levels.
Full, dark, minimum, medium, maximum, auto.
Great. Okay. So we've got all that stuff is super standard. Nothing really big there. Let's see. We've got our mount. You guys are wondering about the sticky cut mount. Oh, guess we're going to have to flip that up. Okay, cool. So that locks into place. I really like Escort's new Easy Mag mount. It's nice. I mean, it makes the detector nice and solid. It's really easy to mount and unmount with one hand like this. There's just a little bitty lip. If you guys haven't seen it before, like right there, the detector sort of clips onto that and then magnetically attaches. And it's nice and solid while you're driving. It doesn't come off. And it's easy to just kind of lift and remove like this. So I like the Easy Mag mount. The only thing I don't really like is sometimes you can't quite get it exactly at the angle that you want. Just there's sort of like discrete notches. So sometimes you might get it a little bit up or a little bit down. But otherwise, yeah, it's a nice solid mount. And it does a good job. It's kind of big and bulky though, which I'll talk about once we kind of do a size comparison with like the Redenso Pro M. But yeah, here it is. So cool. I think it looks pretty good. The display, I think it looks a little bit small relative to it. But anyway, yeah, the AI stuff, we'll talk about that as well. I've got that definitely on the list of things to talk about. Do you have the M1 camera that you can attach? Actually, yeah, I have it sitting right here. Let's do that. So we'll pop off this, and we can start with the Max 360c. So I have it here with the M1 attached. Let's pull it off. So we'll take a look at that. So you can tell design-wise, these two are very similar. Put them side by side like this. Size-wise, they look pretty much the same. Maybe the red line is a little bit longer, just a hair, but pretty similar. Looks like the Escort, it's kind of rounded up at the front, whereas the Max 360 is rounded, whereas the red line is flat here. But otherwise, the dimensions are almost identical. You can tell the button layout is pretty much the same thing. Yeah, you can tell. I mean, it's the same case design. The arrows are a little bit different. You can see how the Max 360 had the arrows like this. With the Redline, they're now larger and kind of stretch across the top and bottom. So cool to see. I've noticed the Escort, the display is kind of sunken back a little bit more into the housing, which is nice in case there's like sun or something. It helps to just kind of block the sun, kind of like wearing a hat. With the Redline EX, it's a little bit more Redline 360c. It's a little bit more flush with the front. So I wonder if you're driving in like in the sunlight, if it's hitting it, it might be a little bit more prone to being washed out. So just kind of something I noticed. But otherwise, style-wise, they look super, super similar. Now I know you were asking about the M1, the dash cam. Let's see if we can attach that next. That attaches here, and then if you guys haven't seen it, it's pretty much a dash cam that attaches to the same mount like this, and then you have kind of a power cable pass through. So you plug the dash cam into the detector, and then you plug in this. We'll do this real quick. Boom, and then this is going to power both the dash cam and the radar detector. You can see. So they sell it. It's like $200 for the dash cam. It's on sale now for like 20 bucks off or something. If you want it, if you scroll down under the Redline 360 page that I linked to, it's at the bottom for like a bundle that they're doing. So the dash cam, it's convenient to have kind of an all-in-one package like this, but it's not the greatest quality, not the greatest feature set. There's no GPS or anything, but 1080p, has Wi-Fi, decent video quality, but the convenience for just one mount and one power cable for everything is kind of the appeal of it. Anyway, so here's a look at the Redline 360c with the M1 dash cam. And you can also mount this on a blend mount as well. Because they included, it's just the same mount. So you can easily just use the mount that they have for the IXC, the Redline 360 or Max 360c. And it's the exact same thing here. So full blend mount compatibility as well. I'm actually going to, when I get to testing, swap it in and do that. But anyway, so that's a size comparison. We'll pull this off again. With the Max 360c. Something I want to mention, I know a lot of you guys are asking about the price. So I kind of made a list of like some of the main differences between the detectors. So Escort had mentioned there's three main differences between this, $650, $750. What do you get for the extra $100? It seems like there's three things primarily. Longer range with the Max or with the Redline 360c. Still got to get used to saying that. Better BSM filtering here and RDD immune. So that's the three benefits: longer range, fewer false alerts, and stealth compared to this. If you don't need that, well, this is $100 less. So those are the main three differences that Escort is telling us. In terms of case, I think it's plastic. It's kind of the sort of textured plastic. I can't tell for sure, but I think it's a nice plastic. It feels the same as the Max 360c does. So no difference there. Okay, so let's see. What else did I want to talk about? This weekend, by the way, I plan on doing a ton of testing with this versus this original Redline, Redline EX, Unit R7, Redenso Pro M, Max CI 360, all that kind of stuff. So weather permitting, we do have rain in the forecast this weekend, but assuming I can get good day, we'll see. Maybe Friday, maybe Sunday. We'll see kind of when the testing goes. But weight versus the Max 360, Alex is asking. I don't have a scale here. They're pretty similar. The Redline is a little bit heavier, but not dramatically so. So they are pretty similar in terms of that. Under the hood, I forgot to mention, so they're calling this the M12 platform. So it looks like it's kind of an evolution of the M7 that's used in the Max CI 360. So two horns for the front. They said they did modify the front end. They changed the LNAs. So the performance should be comparable to, if not better, than the Max CI 360, which is like $2,000 or something, or I think $2,400 for front and rear. Versus this is $750. So that should be really interesting. I definitely plan on testing that. The rear horn, I think Insipid Monkey mentioned a good thing. The M12 is kind of like M7 plus M5, kind of. M7 for the Max CI's two front things. And then M5, which is kind of a single horn version of this. This is, well, yeah, one antenna, M5, two antennas, M6. I think we're guessing, and I have no idea if this is true, but I think it's the rear antenna here. Is going to be the same thing, but they added an LNA for the RDD immunity. One interesting thing is they added the LNA, which you are going to need for the RDD stuff. And I'll test this with the Spectre, but just to make sure this is also stealth from behind. The rear antenna does not detect X-band. These two antennas will do, you've got one, again, as I mentioned, for X-band. The other one is going to be for K and KA. And each one has its own separate LNA. This only detects K and Ka. There is no X-band detection from the rear. So if you're doing arrows, I don't think we're going to have arrows for X-band, just for K and Ka. I think the reason for that is just having a good LNA that can sweep across all of that frequency range is really tough. And so in order to not make that compromise, they've got a good LNA for K and Ka, which is the focus, and they've sacrificed rear X-band detection. So just kind of an interesting point of contention, I guess. I'm gonna get a little bit more light here in my face. There we go. That looks better. Now that I don't have the shiny box here, we'll get a little more light. So anyway, Max 360C versus Redline 360C. Man, I'm going to have to get used to saying all this stuff. Okay, so what's next here on the list? I wanted to take a look at the original. Here we go. So here's the original Max 360. We'll look at this next. So size-wise, it looks like they're pretty similar. The Max 360 may be a little bit bigger, but really, really similar for anybody who has one already. We'll kind of do that. Put them up like this. Make sure I can see too. You can see, of course, there's definitely a comparison. One thing that I do like about the Max 360, the original one, is the mute button is right here in the front. You can see it's even a little bit faded just from me pressing it. But it's nice because when the detector is mounted high, you can just reach it really easily like this. The other detectors, they're a little bit more towards the back like this. So you can't just press like this. You have to go and get your finger there. And then you're feeling for maybe this little bump here for the mark button, which I press by accident, then I have to go and delete the manually created mark stuff. So mute button is right there in the center, a little bit farther back. I do prefer the mute button right there on the edge, and I actually like the brighter LEDs right there. For this one, they did kind of the arrows all the way around the face of the detector, but having bigger LEDs should make it brighter and easier to see. So I do like that. Anyway, Max 360, in terms of weight, again, Redline a little bit heavier, but not that big of a difference. So anyway, get my fingers out of the way. Great, similar. Next, I can see you guys are asking about the unit in R7. Let's take a look at that next. So here is the unit in R7. We'll pop off the mount, and here we go. Size-wise, looks like R7 is going to be a little bit wider, just with the design, the face. You can see this part here is going to be a little bit wider. The R7 does kind of angle the display a little bit toward the driver, whereas the Redline 360C, excuse me, facing completely forward. Yeah, Jovi, this appears to be the new flagship for portables. For Escort, yes. I think it's going to be a great all-around detector, great performance. We'll have to see, of course, BSM filtering, arrows, GPS, auto lockouts, MRCD, RDD immunity, pretty much everything. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great option. We got to test, of course, to make sure it lives up to expectations. Escort did mention that in their testing, the Redline 360C can pretty noticeably outperform the R7. Is that true? We'll find out. I mean, this, of course, you can get it now on Amazon for under $450 versus this is $750. So we're looking at about a $300 difference. That'll be an interesting thing. And I definitely want to take a look at, you know, they're both, I'm sure, going to perform well. Is this worth it? Let's say $300 for better range, probably be better BSM filtering. Do you want the built-in GPS? Wow, some of you guys are saying $400 now for this. Built-in GPS, the cloud stuff. I mean, this, of course, does have things that this doesn't have. Maybe the MRCD is better. It's actually RDD immune versus this can be kind of hit or miss. So there's advantages here over the R7, but I mean, this unit, an amazing bang for the buck. That's kind of their thing. But anyway, size-wise, get my fingers out of the way again. The R7 is a little bit wider. It's lighter, noticeably lighter than the Redline. But yeah, Scott, where can you buy a Vortex t-shirt? There should actually be a link under the under this video where you can do it for the merch. It should be available there. Yeah. Cool. Anyway, let's keep going here with this. Let's do Valentine 1 next. So maybe after the R7, we take a look at V1. So here are those two detectors. You can tell the V1 looks smaller, and it's going to be, I'll get it mounted like they're my eyeballs. Here, we'll mount it like this. All right. So V1 does look a little bit smaller and more compact. Material, very similar. It's kind of the textured black. Yeah, so same kind of material and stuff. But yeah, let's see what else. The mount is a little bit different. If we put the Redline back on the mount, big mount, little bitty mount with the V1. So this is actually going to hang down lower on the windshield, which I think is something important. One of the big things is they're advertising this, of course, as a stealth detector, right? But having a big, huge detector like this that hangs noticeably down off the windshield versus something smaller like this, or even something smaller we'll look at next, like this. If you're looking for a stealth detector, RDD immunity is a big deal, but also having something physically stealth and visually not really standing out. I think that's kind of one of the downsides of the Redline's platform. Same thing with Redline EX, now Redline 360. It's a physically large detector. And especially with the mount hanging down like this, it's not going to be kind of more flush with the windshield like you can see here with the V1 mount. So otherwise, I'm really curious to see, performance, BSM filtering. This one's pretty good here. We'll have to see how this one compares. This obviously has GPS built in. This does not, so it relies on a phone for all that. They both have Bluetooth. This, of course, has the open API, so you've got amazing third-party apps like V1 Driver and JBV1. This does not have an open API, and Escort still apparently is not interested in adding it, which is unfortunate because they could have people for free adding an amazing level of functionality and integration here, but they're not doing that. I really, really think it would be awesome for Escort to just open up a third-party API, and it did wonders for the Valentine 1. Let other people create free, awesome stuff for you. Anyway, I would love to see that here. So anyway, that's the Valentine 1. The Pro-M, of course, this is going to be kind of on the other. Look at, yeah, I'll just do that. Look at how different that is. Let's take the suction cups off real quick so you can see a little bit better. But I mean, look at the difference in size here between the Redenso Pro-M and the Redline 360c. Obviously, this one has an additional rear antenna, which is going to make it bigger, and it's got, 2 horns instead of a single one. So different, whatever. Yeah, it's a different one. Oh, thanks, Jag, for the super chat thing. I hope you guys are able to order one of these too. I've been looking forward to your testing and stuff once you guys are able to get one too. Get to the testing. Planning it for this weekend, weather permitting. We'll definitely start testing it here, but anyway, this I'm really curious to see how much better this is. It's obviously got arrows. This is kind of the benchmark for BSM filtering and for MRCD. This, apparently they've improved the MRCD. They've improved the MRCD filtering. So for fewer false alerts, I don't know if it has a ramp up as you get stronger or as you get closer to the source. This one can actually ramp up. Uniden can do this now too. I don't think the Escort ones do. So I'm really curious to see that once the Canadian guys get a chance to start testing this out. But anyway, that's just a quick look. Let's go ahead and get this fired up and start playing with it more now that we've done the size comparison. So let's plug in the Escort power cable and get that going again. You guys are asking about if I got it for free. I did not get this one for free. Escort has sent me free detectors in the past. Other manufacturers have too. I'm very grateful when they do. It allows me to accomplish a lot more because this stuff can be kind of expensive with tons of detectors, and I'm not exactly a multimillionaire or anything. But yeah, I did have to pay for this one. I bought it full retail. I paid for overnight shipping, and that's why I've got it here. So, oh, thanks, Blend43. I appreciate that. Let's go ahead and start, I guess, messing with it. We'll bring out the Escort Live app here and start playing with it. So Escort Live, and let's connect it here to the new detector. Subscription expired. Still got to get it reactivated. All right, so let's connect to the detector. Devices. Okay, so got it listed here under devices, and we'll connect. You can see Escort Redline 360c. Okay, Bluetooth pairing requests. Redline 360c would like to pair with your iPhone. Cool. We'll hit OK. It says connecting. And it should just connect. Okay, so I can see the Bluetooth icon there. That's a good sign. It says connected on the phone. And then this should swap over in a minute to display the speed limit, which of course updates when I'm driving and I'm not just sitting here in my living room. And there it is. So this is in red when I'm connected over Bluetooth, and it turns white when I'm connected over Wi-Fi. So let's go now into the settings here for the detector. Radar settings. Okay, so it looks like all the stuff here is super standard. Sensitivity, got auto, auto no X, highway, and auto low K. We'll test all of this stuff to see for K-band how much of an impact there is to performance. I know they modified how the auto stuff works. I think it now kicks in for low speed muting or auto stuff at 25 miles an hour or something, and up to 60 or 65 for the highway. So it's supposed to work better now on the highway. But anyway, let's trigger a Bushnell here. Awesome. Let's turn the volume up so that you guys can hear it on camera too. Sounds like it auto muted. It doesn't have GPS here, but let's change maybe sensitivity.
Auto X, auto low, K, highway.
Highway. All right, another K-band shot.
K band.
Cool. So there's our arrows. Everything seems to be working. Bit of a delay, maybe just overdriving sitting here in the room. Okay, so pilot, scanning bar, we've got this. All right, so full word, scanning. Okay, so you can see we can turn kind of that scanning bar on and off. I usually like turning it off, but yeah. Oh, we got our auto mute controls. Great, default to medium. Let's see, audio tones, standard plus. I like that for the new bogey alert tone. What else? ZR3 mode. Did they add this? Okay, so it looks like there's no auto JTK capability here yet. I was really hoping it is compatible with like the ZR3 and ZR5 and ZW5. Sorry, they keep calling it ZR3 mode, even though it's compatible with now ZR5s. I don't know why they don't just update that for laser shifters. But we've got the option here. TMG can't jam to Grand Dragon Eye. That's a whole nother can of worms. It can do some, but not. That's a whole nother can of worms. I'm glad to see they're improving, but they're not still there. Anyway, it is compatible with Escort's laser shifters, and it looks like they still haven't added the auto JTK stuff. I don't know why. Like, add that already. You guys promised you would. Where is it? So I don't know. Yeah. Okay, so we got the voice stuff. Everything here looks super similar for those of you guys who've used an Escort detector before. I know some of you guys were asking about the display color, so let's take a look at that next. The default is red, which I like. I think it looks good to the eye. It obviously matches the red theme. We've got amber, which is a little bit more orangey. I don't know if you guys can tell on camera here. So we got that. We'll switch to red and then back to amber. Looks really similar on camera, but a little bit more yellow. Here's green, as you can see, and then we'll switch to blue. So those are the different colors. You can just get it to kind of like match your, what's it called? Your interior. So show. Okay, cool. So we got all that up and running. 4 display colors: amber, red, green, and blue. Let's switch it back to red. I like red best personally for the red line. Let's see. Okay, so what else? For our settings here, does it have RDR? Looks like there is no RDR option at all. So it's kind of like the Max 360c in that regard. We've got, I guess, laser. We've got pop detection, which is off by default. We do have band segmentation available here. It's like TSR is on by default. For the K-band segments, we've got segments 1 through 4. So that's just like the Max 360c. And then as far as the KA band segments, there's segments 1 through 10. It looks like by default, it's set up to seg 258. It looks like KA band is turned on, which is KA super wide. I think we're going to need to turn that off. So let's try this. Just do a quick hit. Long delay. Again, most likely just overdriving. But it looks like, yes, you are going to need to, like with the other red lines and stuff, disable KA band detection, and then you're just taking advantage of the 258 stuff. So we'll just trigger it again. Cool. So even with KA band disabled, we're now just working on our segment. So that makes sense. We'll, I guess, turn it back on. I don't know if this affects performance. If it's based on the Max CI, I believe it does not. And all this kind of stuff just looks like the, it just has to do with false alert filtering. If you get any false alerts on KA, you can use segmentation for that, but it shouldn't actually affect performance or anything. So let's see. Robert, you're welcome. Yeah, thanks for that. Let's see. Jib Jab makes the Pro M look like a Batman detector. I could grab the Batman after this. Just remind me later when we get to that. Johnny Vega, for what we know about Thea, how does this new radar detector compare? That's obviously really hard to do without testing it yet. I'll talk about Thea kind of toward the end. I don't want to do that yet, but I want to kind of get into a little bit of discussion of artificial intelligence, what Redenso's doing, what I believe Escort's doing, Thea. It'll be a lot of speculation, obviously, but we'll definitely talk about that. Don't worry. Okay, so what else do I want to go over here? So they do have separate, looks like, options here for multi-radar CD and for CT. So those are off by default. That's cool. If you need multi-radar CD, you can turn it on. I know with the Max 360C, I'm getting confused. I can't just say 360C anymore. With the Max 360C, there's now MRCD detection, but not MRCT. Escort was saying just due to the fact that this will false a lot to MRCT. But it looks like they have that option here available in the Redline 360C. And I know John Kuhn had mentioned, good job with your chat yesterday, by the way. Thank you for that. I know you guys had mentioned that you've done a lot of work for the MRCD and MRCT stuff to improve the detection range, to reduce false alerts, to basically just improve it. So I'm really curious to see what that is like. And I guess part of that is, yeah, now they have MRCT just like the Redline EX does. I'm noticing there are no options here for Strelka, one of the Russian photo radar systems, as well as for Gatso. I believe Gatso is being used in Edmonton, for example. So this option is not available here. Maybe we'll have to look into, it'll be added later in software. Maybe Escort's going to release an international version. I don't know how that's going to work. I believe it's only for the international version based on what they said in the chat yesterday. But yeah, there's no Strelka or Gatso detection built in. And then we just have the rest of our Defender database stuff. Everything from red light camera, speed traps. Let's turn off other. Air Patrol is there. Yeah, so that all looks pretty standard. There's nothing super new here. Just MRCD and MRCT. There's no auto JTK yet for the shifters, which is unfortunate. Hopefully they add that at some point. But yeah, so that's that. Let's see what's next on my list to talk about. So size comparison. Yeah, something that I'm just kind of curious about with this detector is, what is the range like? Dino, you're asking how many signals does it detect? Yeah, it does have the kind of the bogey counter. We'll just do this real quick. I'll just trigger, oops. I don't want to be dropping false alarms everywhere. So we'll do K-band.
K-band.
So you can see the 1 right there. It's telling me it's detecting 1 signal. I'm going to close Escort Live real quick, just because I don't want it to be dropping false alerts right here. So now you can see it's back to the overspeed alert. All right, we'll do KA. 1.
K-A-band.
Come on, where's the alert? One of the downsides sometimes is trying to test. There we go. So that was the new bogey alert tone, and it's overdriving. So you can see 2 and then 3 alerts. So not the greatest way to get this done reliably, but you can see that, yes, it does display multiple signals when it sees them. And I'll have to do, I guess, some reactivity testing later. Actually, at a distance, the way an officer would do, they wouldn't obviously be shooting the radar gun like this or anything. So that's something to test. So I'm really curious, like with the arrows, I noticed there's not the ability to turn off MRCD detection for the rear antenna. It's just going to be on. I'm assuming it just lights up all the arrows the way laser does. Let's do a quick laser hit like this.
Laser alert.
So there is no directional information for laser the way that there is with like the Valentine 1, for example. If you look at the laser design, usually based on with the other M3 platforms, the laser sensors are all here. And then the rear laser sensor, it goes in like this. There's a little pipe that just kind of bends down and it drops it into the rear laser sensor like this. So we'll do the rear laser test. Shooting
Laser
this.
alert.
So you notice there's no directional information for laser. The Valentine does actually have separate front and rear laser sensors. This detector does not, which is why it lights up everything. And I believe with multi-radar, it does the same exact thing. I don't know. Maybe this does do multi-radar detection for the rear. That might be something for you guys up in Edmonton once you guys get it to test it out. I'm actually really curious. I don't know that for sure. So anyway, that'll be really interesting to see how that works. Any bugs? So one thing, I know when the Redline EX first launched, there was an issue with the magnetic mount where you would mount and unmount the detector. It could actually cause false alarms on KA band. It looks like we're not, knock on wood, seeing that here with this detector, which is good. They had to actually add some shielding into the detector so that I think it just, when you move the magnet, it would just create some induction current and stuff. And it would basically just create a false alarm on KA band. It looks like they have resolved that, which makes sense. They fixed that with the EX with the kind of magnetic shielding plate mounted right there. And yeah, it doesn't look like it's an issue here. So hopefully as we start driving it around, we don't start to find a ton of issues and bugs with it. I'm hoping it's a solid, reliable detector. I feel like that's something we've been needing to talk about more lately, especially with some of the issues we've seen with the Valentine 1 Gen 2, which has come up. So I'm really hoping that this is solid and reliable out of the gate. Always kind of a risk being an early adopter, but I'm really hopeful this is going to be a nice solid detector. So we'll see once we have a chance to start testing it. You guys are asking how I'm triggering the false laser alert. I've got just this little keychain alert, which is kind of a laser simulator. 2 buttons, one transmits, the other one you can press to like switch between different laser guns. And on the back, it actually tells you, 1 button press is the marksman, 2 is true speed, 3 is laser patrol. Dragon Eye is like 8 or 9. So I can simulate Dragon Eye button presses. Actually, let's do that. Why don't we simulate a Dragon Eye? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh. There's no Dragon Eye laser detection. Look at that. If we switch laser guns back to the marksman, there's the alert.
Laser alert.
So I guess I believe they did mention that they have improved laser filtering. The Redlines traditionally are fantastic when it comes to laser sensitivity. They usually have like 4 laser sensors here. Maybe with some of the filtering, they may be filtering out some Dragon Eyes. This also does a laser ally pulse pattern. Let's do that next. Let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay.
Laser alert.
So that was 8 presses. That is the laser ally. The 9 presses is Dragon Eye compact. And we'll just double check this real quick. 1, 2, reset. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There it is. Transmitting, you can see the blinking light. No alert to the Dragon Eye. So this basically simulates one of the many, many different pulse patterns that Dragon Eyes can transmit. And yeah, it looks like whatever's built into this is the anti-laser laser tester that they sell on their website. There's a couple companies that sell laser simulators like this. More convenient than using like a laser gun like this. All right. Okay. Close my eyes for
Alert.
eye safety, but that you can see it alerted to a laser gun just fine. And where is it? This thing just pretty much simulates a bunch of different laser guns, and it's much more compact and small. So interesting thing we just found. I guess if other people have Dragon Eyes, it would be interesting to actually test it and see for your specific Dragon Eye. Maybe it does alert to other versions of it. So that was kind of interesting. I didn't know that until I tried now. That's what testing's all about, right? So yeah, I guess I'm curious about if there's any, I guess we got talking about bugs and stuff. We'll have to see what happens like that. But hopefully everything works well with it. We'll see. I'm actually cautiously optimistic. I mean, it seems like a really well-rounded detector. With some of Escort's previous marketing, with the Max being the longest range detector ever on all bands, against all radar guns, didn't turn out based on lab stuff. And then in reality, it was different with, I think, just due to the noise floor dynamically adjusting and stuff. Anyway, we'll have to see once we test it to see, does this really have the longest range? Does it have good BSM filtering? Are there any weird issues, things like that? So definitely testing to come. What else do I have here on my list? Okay, so we did the size comparison. Oh, I also wanted to take a look at IXC. So this definitely more compact than the Redline 360c, as you can see. So the Redline is a bigger detector, no surprise there. I mean, the M12 horns they're calling it now, they're big inside here. They're heavy. I remember having a discussion in the forum years ago. We were asking, when is this detector ever going to come out? And there was discussion of like, to do 2 antennas here and 2 antennas that would make this thing so big. Plus trying to throw in GPS and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi made it kind of unmanageably large. And I guess maybe one of the compromises was just to do a single rear antenna there. So yeah, describe the finish. If you haven't seen it yet, it's the same thing as the Max 360C or the Valentine 1 Gen 2. Hopefully you can see, but it's kind of this textured black matte finish. It feels good to the hand. It's definitely better than kind of the shiny Uniden R7, for example. It's more of kind of a matte finish. So the build quality feels really good. Rich, can you show the display up close? Sure. Let's turn it back on again real quick. All right. Looks pretty good. I like the new logo that it has there. That looks pretty good. So there you go. There's the display, and we'll just trigger it here on KA band again. One more time. I am triggering. There we go.
KA band.
4 bogeys. That's okay. So to be fair, that happens, especially once you get into really sensitive detectors. You get weird things with overdriving, with delayed alerts, like you just saw, or it just displayed 4 bogeys simultaneously. That's just the radar bouncing all over the room and overdriving the signal. That's not necessarily a fault of the detector. It happens. I have seen sometimes you'll see weird things in practice, but I've seen that happen with the Valentine. I've seen it with other Escort detectors. I've seen it with Redensos. I've seen it with Unidens. Like, detectors have issues when you overdrive them like that. That's one of the weird things. So anyway, in practice, it should be better. I'll test it kind of at a distance like it's supposed to be used. Okay, let's see. Can you change the colors of the arrows? That's a great question. I don't actually know. I think if you just change the display color overall, let's do that real quick. All right, so we'll pull the Escort Live app up again real quick. Look at this. So subscription expired. It should automatically recognize, hey, you have a new detector that you just bought, and like reactivate my Escort Live subscription. Connect a detector or visit the subscription page to ask to upgrade to Escort Live Premium. I connected a detector. Hopefully that'll work. A Spectre test. Yeah, we'll do that in a second. So settings. Let's change the display color here real quick. Display color. We'll do blue because that'll make it pretty obvious. And then we'll do a K-band shot real quick. Okay. We'll make it green. There's the green arrow. So yes, it does. The arrows are basically set with whatever the display color is. Looks like we don't have independent controls for the arrow color separate from the display color. It's now all one option here. So that's that. Good question, by the way. Now you guys are also asking about Spectre testing. Let's do that next. All right, so got our Spectre 3 here. Let's fire this up. Okay, there's our Spectre. All right, let's just do max sensitivity to Redline. So let's start with that. Okay, so Spectre fired up. Here's our Redline. So far, so good. Moment of truth. Getting a little bit of detection at 1.5 feet, maybe. So we can get a little bit of detection. This is about 1 foot away. False alert. What frequency is that? I don't have the frequency display on. Can I get it in time? Nope. Let's actually change that real quick so I can see what frequency that is. That's also something I see. Sometimes the red lines, they are stealth in practice, but if you get it super, super close, nose to nose, there's an alert. But that's not an issue in practice. So it does look like it's stealth. And where's the meter mode? Let's do spec FR2. Okay. Okay, anyway, so now we can see the frequency if it does that again. Let's also close this. Okay, so quit dropping KA falses like this into the cloud. All right, so we're no longer on Escort Live. You can see the speed limit gone.
KA band.
35,336. So it looks like, yes, this should be stealth in practice. I am getting a little bit of a beep like that. 35.3, 34 something, 3 bogeys, 1 bogey, 33.5. So this should be just fine. You can see the Spectre. I am getting some beeps like this, but oops, there go my power cables. I'm getting something. What about the, so that's always the tough thing with testing like this. 2 or 3 feet, I'm not concerned. In practice, it should be fine. I'm actually really curious about this, about the rear antenna. Yeah, that's good. Single beep like that. I want to do a quick comparison, actually. So yeah, that does look like it's stealth in practice. That should be fine. If we compare it to something like the, let's plug this in. We've got the Max 360c. Just to show you a difference with a non-stealth detector. It's one of the things I guess you pay for. Going for the red line instead of the Max 360. Oh, there we go. So that's a non-stealth detector. Obviously very different, right? So Spectre can obviously tell that's there. We'll unplug it and it should stop beeping immediately. Great, there you go. The beeping, that other beeping, I don't have a memory card on the M1 dash cam, so that was the other beep. But you can tell it's very different here with the Redline. We'll plug that back in too. Let this boot up. So in terms of initial Spectre testing, yeah, it seems fine. I'm sure once we actually do a correct test, we have this mounted in one car and this mounted in another car, we'll be able to put the two cars nose to nose, and we're not going to get anything. I am getting a few beeps like this at 2 feet maybe. 3 feet, nothing. So yeah, that's fine. Cool. Yeah, it's stealth. I guess it's kind of one of those things where like, okay, if you put them super close, it'll alert. But if you ever have an officer doing, this, I guess you got bigger issues. In practice on the road, yeah, it should be totally stealth. Let's pull my power cable. I've got a splitter here for different power cables and stuff, so I can plug in a bunch of different things. Speaking of power cables, I guess real quick, I know some of you guys are wondering about power cable compatibility with other devices. So let's say you have a Uniden detector and you want to try plugging that in. I have a Uniden power cable. So let's start with that. Okay. Plug in the Redline. Oops, spin it around. So yeah, it looks like it powers the detector just fine. You can see it's connected like this. Let's try triggering an alert. I have to wait for it to... Again, these things usually take like 10 seconds or so between when they fire up and you can start detecting something. Gonna go off? Yeah. There we go. Can I mute? Maybe I should keep transmitting. Come on. Nope, so the mute button doesn't work. The powering does work. So I think that's the same as with the other detectors. But anyway, just that. I've also got a Valentine 1 cable here. Let's do that as well. Here's a V1 cable. Works too. Great. So just a quick test. I know you guys have wondered about that. Alex Tech, do you think this is worth upgrading for the Max 360c? So depends on what you need. Escort is saying there's 3 benefits: longer range, better BSM filtering, and stealth. If you need stealth, this obviously offers it. It's a physically large detector, so maybe something to consider. But if you need longer range or if you want fewer false alerts, that could be a reason to upgrade. But I guess it's up to you. If you've been driving with it, you know whether or not you need more than what the Max 360c can offer. And I'll be testing all these detectors this weekend, again, weather permitting, just to see kind of what the differences are between all this. You guys are asking about the Redline EX. I don't have one of those on hand. I have the EX and the original Redline coming in the mail for testing this weekend, but I don't have it yet. I'll later post maybe pictures on my website or something, doing more like side-by-side photos with all these detectors so that you can see kind of higher quality than the webcam I'm using now, how all this stuff looks. But I guess one of the big things you notice, there's no chin here anymore. With the Redline 360c, that's gone. All the buttons now here are on top, which I think is a great move. I do like a mute button here on the front. I know I talked about that a little bit earlier, but I didn't like the buttons on the Redline EX being right here because sometimes it would just sort of pull down on the detector. You'd have to press it pretty hard. This, I think, works a lot better. So I like it without the Jay Leno chin that we call it. I think it's a nice upgrade to have that chin gone. But yeah, so that's, let's see on the list, Max CI stuff. That's something I'm really interested in. They're saying it's kind of like, as I mentioned earlier, the Max CI 360. It's an M12. So similar platform, just different LNAs and kind of modified front end and stuff. So I'm definitely curious to see how it compares to that. They said it should meet or exceed the range of their remote stuff. And I'll definitely test that out too, just to see what it's like. Alec, are they canning the Max 360C? I don't think so. I mean, if you don't need the stealth, if you don't need the craziest range ever, it's $100 less. I mean, I guess it's kind of one of those things where if you're going to be spending top dollar, if you want the best detector, I think that's where the Redline 360C is going to come into play. I do think that it's going to make maybe the Max 360C less desirable because it's no longer being seen as the best. But if you're spending tons of money for a detector, maybe you go for the Redline. I guess we could talk about Thea. I know you guys have asked a lot about that. Thea, I'm sure, is going to be more expensive than this. They're saying that it should be able to completely filter out BSMs. Escort has said this does still false to BSMs. I'm obviously going to have to take it on the road, which maybe after this, I'll go take it for a drive, do a loop, do some city and highway driving and stuff. They said it does still false. We'll have to see kind of how it compares. In terms of range, BSM filtering, Escort has Bluetooth, but no open API. Thea should have the open API. Talk about laser jammer connectivity. There's Obviously, a ton of stuff that still needs to be figured out. Thea isn't available yet. We don't know the BSM and range differences, but those are two, of course, going to be like kind of the two detectors to put head to head. This is Escort's detector that just throw everything into it, and boom, this is going to be now, well, it is now their best radar detector available. And that's, I think, what they're wanting to put out, especially before Thea comes out. So that, I think, will be an interesting detector. You can tell Redenso or Escort has been listening to what Thea has been doing, everything from artificial intelligence to the SDR, that kind of stuff. I think they mean very different things. Like when they talk about artificial intelligence, Escort is now saying their 9500IX, which came out years ago, also has artificial intelligence, which then I think kind of takes away from the artificial intelligence of what's available here. If the 9500IX also has artificial intelligence, I think a good example of that was when the Escort came out with the Escort DSP back in like 1989, I believe. That detector, it's got DSP, awesome. Now, all their new detectors also have DSP, but obviously it's very different than the detector that they released in the late 80s, even though they're calling it also DSP, right? Now things are much more capable. They're much more sophisticated, even though they're all DSP, digital signal processing. Cool. Now, everybody's advertising artificial intelligence. Cool. But in the same way, that doesn't mean they're doing the same thing. With Escort, they're talking about artificial intelligence as in GPS lockouts, auto lockouts. It's automatically learning your false alerts and filtering them out, which is great. It's got updatable BSM, and it's got cloud capabilities for Escort Live stuff. Obviously, that does make the detection more capable than just something that beeps or not. Again, testing this weekend. I'm not testing today. We're just kind of initial unboxing stuff and talking about it. As far as artificial intelligence stuff, that's what Escort is doing. They can... I know they mentioned in the live stream they're recording different BSMs and something. I think they have like 3,000 different BSMs that they've recorded and they can play back in the lab, which helps them actually do the development for the BSM filtering, which is great. So they don't have to actually go out on the road or get the car and try it. It's awesome. One of the different things that Redenso is doing is they're also getting recordings of the BSMs, but then they can just pipe it into a computer and have the computer automatically figure out what does a signal look like, classify it. That's called the inferencing process, to look at a signal, kind of learn what it is, and then the detector can automatically figure it out for itself. I believe that Escort is still having to write the algorithms to say, okay, I'm looking at this signal. I think this is what the differences are. Let me go ahead and create a new BSM filter, which I'll then update. Redenso is basically having the computer do that for you. So it's a much faster process. And a lot of times a computer can do a better job. Backwards on RDF had a good analogy talking about like all the face recognition stuff, to where you can upload a photo that Google Photos or Facebook or whoever has never seen before. It's never seen this photo, and it can just look at it and recognize, oh, this is maybe a little bit different than another signal that I've seen before, or another face rather, but I can tell this is the same person, just maybe from a different angle, or they're smiling, or their eyes are a little bit closed. Like, it can actually tell the difference with that kind of stuff. You don't need a different algorithm that's maybe kind of generic or more specific or whatever. It does all this stuff for you, which is much quicker and a lot of times more accurate. That is very different than having a person actually create an algorithm that's trying to tell the difference. Yes, both of them kind of have some degree of intelligence, but they're doing very different things, even though they're both saying artificial intelligence. That's my best understanding of it right now. As I learn more, I'll be able to maybe explain it better, or maybe there's some understanding here that's a little bit different from what I'm talking about. But from as far as what I can tell, they're both advertising artificial intelligence, but they're not actually doing the same thing. So I think Escort is using it more as a marketing term, whereas Redenso is doing something much more sophisticated with Thea, which I think is what is making it really interesting. Like the Redline 360c, they're saying currently does still false to BSM. Thea, they're saying shouldn't. Is that going to be the case? We don't know. There's a lot of discussion there about it, whitelisting versus blacklisting discussions and scanning and recording all of them and stuff. But that's, I think, going to be a nice head-to-head. We'll have to see once Thea comes out. When it comes out, I know they're saying this year still at some point, what it's priced like. We'll test range, BSM filtering, features, laser jammer integration, all that kind of stuff, you know? Mark Wilson, do they have the blend mount for this yet? They do, luckily. It uses the same exact mount as the Max 360C and stuff. So if you get the blend mount for the 360C, it's the exact same one for the Redline 360C. So I've got a link in the video description to the blend mount with like a discount code you can use, because it is kind of pricey. So save you guys some cash. That's there. Let's see. So what else? What does MRCD and MRCT performance mean for Detector? Great question, Buck. So multi-radar, it is a really low-powered radar gun, usually used for photo radar applications. It's not a handheld radar gun like this. It's usually set up next to a camera and then they mail you a ticket. So photo radar, basically they're trying to defeat radar detectors. Let's get a more light on my face. They're trying to defeat radar detectors, and so it's low-powered. They're doing some tricky stuff with frequencies, modulation, and polarization, and all this kind of stuff. Basically making it a lot harder for a radar detector to detect. You need a detector that's actually designed to detect it, that can tell the difference between frequency modulated multi-radar and frequency modulated blind spot radar. It's really low powered, it's close range, and so you don't get a ton of range. So pretty much it's a newer, tougher form of radar that's being used, and a lot of the newer detectors now from Escort, Uniden, Rodenso, Stinger, a lot of companies are now offering this capability. They didn't before. It first started overseas, internationally. Now it's starting to come to North America. It's pretty active in Canada, and it's also now starting to show up here in the United States. MRCD and MRCT are two different ones. CT is, I think, the newer one, operates differently. So you have different settings for each individual one. Let's see. Anybody having GPS issues, you guys are asking? So go back to my list here of things to take a look at. We've done the Spectre. We've talked about blend mount, power cable compatibility. We've talked about, yeah, okay. I think that's most of the stuff that's here on my list. What else for you guys are you wondering about? I know you guys are talking about the price, talking about Thea stuff. What other questions are you wondering? Wesley, great question. What makes it stealth? So Escort has a patent on this. You can actually take a look. It's pretty interesting where they explain for the M3 platform, where this all started for the Beltronics Magnum and Driver and the original Escort Redline. LNA, low noise amplifier. It basically boosts the sensitivity of your incoming signal without introducing a ton of additional noise, hence the name low noise amplifier. It's basically a chip that sits right behind the horn and boosts the signal to make it, well, stronger, gives your detector longer range. One of the nice things about it is that it also kind of acts like a one-way switch, so it allows signals to come in, but it prevents signals from going back out to a large extent. There's also tricks with like the microstrips, kind of the wires on the circuit board, so to speak, are designed in a way so that they don't unintentionally turn back into like an antenna to broadcast signals back out. What you're concerned about primarily is signals going into the horn like this, but not back out of the horn. There is some additional kind of shielding that's built into the detector around the casing and stuff to prevent leakage. But the main sources of leakage are actually going to be out of the horns themselves, which is why you saw when we were doing the Spectre testing, the main alerts that you saw were things when it was pointed nose to nose and not when it was turned like this, right? So the main leakage we're concerned about is out of the horns. So we're not really concerned, is the case magnesium or is it plastic? That doesn't really have anything to do really with the RDD immunity. It just has to do with the design here. And yeah, like some of the, what was the thing that, some of the foam stuff. Anyway, main thing, LNA, they mentioned this on the thing yesterday, plus the way the microstrips are designed are the two main things that they do to help cut down on LO leakage, essentially. There's other things which changing the frequency of where the local oscillator transmits and stuff, which is just a trick that they use for evading maybe the VG2, but you just change which frequencies the Spectre looks for, and then it's able to detect VG2 undetectable detectors. The Valentine 1 Gen 1 was a good example of that. There's a lot of detectors that are like advertising VG2 immunity, but they're detectable by the Spectre, so it doesn't really matter because the Spectre is what everybody's using for the most part. Software-defined radio. Why did Escort mention software-defined radio? That's a big thing that Escort or that Rodenso is doing. They have a whole video dedicated to that. I don't actually know the extent of what Escort is doing with the software-defined radio, and that's actually something I'm really curious about. Like, is this... I know they mentioned like there's a lot more that they're doing in software, and they're kind of digitizing the signal sooner compared to some other detectors. I'm really curious how much of that is just marketing speak. How much of this is a Max CI 360 with maybe different LNAs, or maybe they modified the front end a little bit. How much is going on in software? They did specify they're now digitizing the signal sooner, and they're doing a lot more in software, which makes the detector reconfigurable. Unlike the Redline EX and the Redline Original, this is not a completely analog detector anymore. They're doing a lot more stuff digitally, like the Max 360C, like the Max CI 360. So yes, this should be a lot better than the Redline EX. And again, we'll be testing that this weekend for sure. We'll get it out on the road to do long-range testing and proper Spectre testing and all that kind of stuff. That should be for this weekend. Yeah, haven't tested it yet. You guys saw at the beginning of the video, it literally still came in shrink wrapped. And yeah, so we're just sitting here playing with it, kind of taking a look at it. I think the design is pretty good overall. It's a hefty, solid feeling detector. Definitely feels more solid. I know that's been kind of a complaint with the R7 is it feels kind of cheapy. The Redline definitely does feel more solid, a lot like the Escort is. I bought the Max 360c with an M1 this January 2020, so a couple months ago. Is that outdated already? No, I mean, it continues to be updated. If anything, I think maybe they would discontinue the original Max 360, something like that. You guys are asking about Dragon Eye detection with the 360C. We can do that too real quick while we chat about it. But yes, let's go ahead and fire this up. Actually, let's plug it in here. Otherwise, we'll get the complaints for the M1 that there's no power cable or no memory card in it. But we'll do a quick Dragon Eye test here with the simulator. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There you go. So this alert's fine. And I'm just going to double check that too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a long latch. Holy cow, that was a long latch. Okay, let's do this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just double checking my work here. Cool. So this alerts to that gun just fine. The Redline 360C doesn't. Compare it to the legendary Rocky Mountain Radar Judge. It's funny you bring that up. So, where is it? I got a Judge as like a fun thing to play with. This is the Judge 2.0. Oh my gosh, with the scrambling capability and stuff. I haven't tested this one out yet. So I plan on playing with this at some point. This is more of just a fun, silly thing. I obviously want to spend time focusing on this right now. I've got all my videos for long-range detection. Let's take a look at BSM filtering. Let's take a look at how it compares to all these other detectors. Let's do a review of the detector. Let's do a settings tutorial. All the normal videos that we do when a detector comes out. I know people were like, Vortex, why did you talk about the V1 Gen 2 so much? It kind of took over my channel for a while, especially with quarantine and just my productivity went way down and there's a ton of stuff to talk about. But now that's mostly done. I still got to do JBV1 stuff. We'll talk about this. We'll do a bunch of Thea videos whenever Thea comes out. And then when I get some downtime, I'll do testing this and maybe a bunch of other detectors that I don't. Where did the IXC go? Detectors that I don't normally talk about, something like this, just to talk about a bunch of other detectors. So that could be interesting. Maybe test some old detectors like the original Escort like this. That could be fun too. So a lot of stuff to do. It just comes down to time, you know? Stuff all takes time. Especially now with quarantine and baby. I was planning on actually doing a Redline 360 testing Friday. It's supposed to be rainy. If I can get testing done Friday, my wife is actually taking the day off of work just to help take care of Luna, our daughter, and my wife, or my mom's going to be helping too. So big thank you to her if we do that. If it rains Friday, I'll be testing Sunday, which should just make it easier for family and balancing work and baby and all that kind of stuff. So we may be doing the testing Sunday. It does look like the weather should be better Sunday than Fridays. And then I'll get the test results up maybe Monday, Tuesday next week, something like that. But definitely something I'm looking forward to. Rafael Nunez, why do the Escort radar detectors have a horn sticking out of it on the top? That's the rear laser sensor. We mentioned it earlier. It's pretty much just another laser detector like this. It's like a periscope essentially, and it kind of detects laser from the rear and then pipes it down to the laser sensor, which is right here. Rear laser detection is really, really tough, especially when it's mounted up high or you've got seats blocking the detector. I mean, I think even less, it's more difficult than the front, but they do at least attempt to do it. So I'm glad it's there, but I don't know how realistically useful that is, but that's what that is. Let's see. Can't wait for your test results for the 360C versus the V1 Gen 2. Yeah, I'm definitely curious about that too. You guys are asking size comparison. Here's the 360C, or no, okay, Redline versus V1 Gen 2. Here's that comparison again real quick. The V1 is definitely lighter. It's wider, maybe a little bit shorter top to bottom. Both are RDD immune. One thing that is a big difference, as I mentioned, is the mount. This is going to be a bigger, bulkier detector when it's mounted, as opposed to something like the V1. It's going to be a lot more flush to the windshield just due to the design of the suction cups. And so RDD immune, bigger detector, sticks down more off the windshield, more visible. Compared to the R7 size, yeah, totally. We did that earlier too. Let's see. We'll pop the mount off again real quick. Here's R7 and Redline 360c. So physically pretty similar. The Redline is definitely heavier. The Uniden is bigger top to bottom, as you can see. And this detector, it is with the display kind of mounted or angled toward the driver the way the Valentine is. And the buttons are also here on top. The Uniden does do the weird thing with this side button here for the mute. I guess you get used to it, but looks much better than the R7. I agree. I do think that the Redline looks better than the R7. I've never been a huge fan of the design here. I know it does feel a little bit cheapy. I wish the mute button was here, but I know that has to do with like the PCB going down for the display and stuff. But I do wish there was that. This is also much lighter than the Redline. The Redline feels heftier with the horn is much bigger, a lot more metal in here. So build quality wise, it does feel like this is a heftier, more capable detector just based on build quality than the R7 is. And so it feels like you're getting more for your money. Let's see. I don't like the look. The R7. Oh, you're saying you don't like the Redline 360c? Yeah, I think that's totally, what's it called? Subjective. It's user preference. If you like the look, if you don't, that kind of stuff. Alfredo, should I buy it or wait for the Redenso? That's always a big question. I mean, Redenso is not out yet. We don't know. If you need a detector, obviously we'll get this one. I'm guessing Thea is going to be better, but we still have to test it to find out for sure. Maybe Thea will have some bugs. Maybe this will have some bugs. Early adopter stuff, we're always wondering. So we can kind of speculate and guess, but there's a ton that we don't know yet. So we'll have to see kind of once it gets better. I'm guessing Thea will be better. And this is going to be maybe the next closest thing. This might be the best of like traditional radar detector technology versus Thea's kind of like newer stuff. Yeah, we'll see. So great question, but we don't know yet. Cat in the hat. See you, Cat in the hat. Thanks for coming by. Let's see. Dave P. in Minnesota, you can't have them on the windshield. Does the thing have a downward mounting bracket? So it only comes with the windshield mount like this. If you want to hook it up to the blend mount, you can do that and mount it to your rearview mirror. That's usually the way to go. And it looks pretty clean there. You can have like a mirror tap. So this just plugs right into your rearview mirror. If you have a powered one, makes it really easy to wire in, or you just hardwire it and run the cable across your headliner and down here. I've got a link in the video description to the blend mount if you're concerned about that. It's a nice upgrade here. And it is compatible with like the M1 dash cam as well. Yeah, you pretty much just take this part off and then put it in the blend mount and you plug in the M1. So it'll look kind of like this, essentially, but on the rearview mirror instead. So yes, it is compatible with the blend mount. So that's available too. How much is the 360C? So the Redline 360C, $750. The Max 360C, $650. So $100 difference. So I guess, yeah, I'm curious. Now that we've kind of done our introduction looking at the detector, time to go out and test it. So test it today. I'm planning on pretty much going out and taking it for a drive today and just getting started, at least getting familiar with what it's like. The BSM filtering is the main thing. I'm curious that I can kind of test, but that's hard to really find out. Is it better than the Max 360 or the Max CI 360 or the R7 by how much? That's always just something that takes time for a lot of us to drive around with and test to see, do a lot of us still see false alerts? Like I know they mentioned on the Escort chat yesterday that it does still false to Hondas and Acuras, for example, versus the Redensos don't false to that. So how good is it? We'll definitely have to see. Let's see. Angelo, do you think they'll release a Bellsquirt variant of this, a Beltronics one? Maybe eventually. I mean, kind of the way that they're doing it is they're doing like Escort gets the higher end ones. Beltronics seems to be kind of, I don't know if they're killing off the brand or what. They had the Beltronics, what was it, the GT360? And then they discontinued that and then sent it over to Cobra and just repackaged it as the Dual Pro 360. And obviously it's kind of the lower end, simpler design and that kind of stuff. So if anything, maybe they'll try to do this as a Cobra or something. Maybe they'll do a custom installed version of it if it winds up being better than the Max CI 360. That's always kind of one of the annoying things is custom installed. You can't really swap very easily. I mean, windshield mounts, it's like, oh, cool, another one comes in. I've been running the V1 Gen 2, pop it off the windshield and plug in this. Super easy to upgrade and swap. Custom installed, you can't really do that. So I'm really kind of curious to see, like, is this actually better than the $2,400 Max CI 360? Maybe. I mean, custom installs are always more expensive. Even the Redenso, I think it's what, $450 for this, $1,400 or $1,500 for RCM, $1,850 for antenna or dual antenna version. So custom installed is always more expensive than windshield mount. This is going to be a better bang for the buck than even at $750 than like a custom installed one. But I'm really curious to see that. I've really been liking the Max CI 360 as a custom installed unit, and I'm curious if the Redline now is actually a better option, fewer false alerts and longer range. Let's see, 10 million internet points. If you can name any other product released in 2020 over $700 with a single mini USB port. That's a great point. If you look at the Detector, it still uses mini USB. And I just realized it doesn't come with a mini USB cable, so you're going to have to provide your own. Why did Escort do that? They didn't provide the cable you need, which is like $2. Why didn't they upgrade to USB Type-C? I know they mentioned in the thing yesterday that they're trying to make this like a more future-proof detector. So it's got the hardware and they can do a lot of software updates over the years. Because it's doing so much in software, it's supposed to be kind of, to use my words, more future-proof. I guess it's supposed to last longer, but they're still including, you're totally right, a mini USB port. Why is there no USB Type-C? Even micro USB or something. I don't know. That is kind of a good point. But at least it's software updatable. And yeah, it does have the Wi-Fi updates, that's a good thing. That's actually really nice for it to be able to update itself in the car. That's actually a pretty nice advantage. With the R7, I know one of the big complaints is, okay, it has the micro USB port, but man, this is probably one of the most painful detectors to update. With the driver installation, people have a lot of complaints about updating this one, and there's problems with it not seeing the detector or whatever. I always kind of like, oh God, when it comes time to do how to update a unit in Detector, because I know people are always going to have issues, and this may have a slightly older port, but Escort has done a good job where you plug it in, you don't have to install any drivers, and the software just automatically goes out to check for any updates and updates your detector for you. So they have done a better job with the update process here, not to mention the Wi-Fi updating stuff. Makes it really convenient. You can drive, the detector can download the update and update for you, whether it's new firmware or new red light camera stuff, without you having to plug it into the computer. So yeah, it does have an older USB port, but the overall process is better here. I don't know why Escort didn't include the cable. That's actually really weird. Felipe, thank you, Felipe. You're welcome. I know people have been saying like for $750, it should come with a lifetime subscription to the Defender database. I really hope it does. Maybe, I know Garmin used to do that with their GPS stuff, and then like Google Maps came out for free ways. You don't have to pay for all the GPS mapping stuff. And I think Garmin now does the software updates for free. Maybe Escort will one day do that too, but I know it's a nice thing to get the recurring subscription model for them. If it works properly, it's a weird thing. Again, on my detector here, it's still saying subscription expired. Please connect to a detector. And I do, and it's still not working properly. So I don't know what it's going to take to actually get my stuff working here. Hopefully they'll fix that so I don't keep getting the subscription expired thing. And I don't think it's actually reporting my alerts to the cloud, or I'm not getting other people's alerts right now. And I should be. So I guess speaking of new things that need to be addressed, Escort, could you please fix your Escort Live stuff so when people buy a detector, if they're running into this issue, it should recognize you have a new detector just like the app is asking for, and it should fix the whole subscription expired thing. So please fix that if you're watching it. I actually mentioned that over email, and I got kind of the auto response of like, sorry, COVID-19 shut down fewer employees working and stuff. What's your first name? My name is Ariel. I go by Vortex Radar, but name is Ariel. Hey. Probably because the Redline 360c is so new, they have to work out the kinks with the hardware and software apps. Maybe, but I'm curious, like if you bought a new Escort detector that's already been out for a while, I wonder if this issue would still be present. They mentioned currently with this thing, like you need to contact them and email them and be like, can you please fix my Escort Live stuff? And they should be able to fix it. I haven't done that yet. I guess I'll do that after this. And I also, I guess, need to go and try to get that 3-year new, what's it called? The Defender database thing. When it came out, I bought it immediately and was like, I need to get the Detector in to do this video. And then once they did the live stream at the end, they're like, oh, by the way, use this coupon code. Was it Red Set Go? I put that in the video description too. And if you get the Detector, add that to cart, and then you also add the 3-year Defender database subscription, it'll give you like that 3-year thing for free. I didn't do it, so I only have the 1-year thing. I heard somebody actually called in and was able to get it added retroactively, which was nice. I'll, I guess, do it later to get it added to my account too. A note, if you send a Detector in for their like trade-in program, you can't get the trade-in credit and the free 3-year Defender database for red light cameras and all that kind of stuff. You can only do one or the other. So just something to notice, or maybe a point to note with that. Which segments are available for K and KA? It's the same thing as the Max 360C. There's 4 segments for K-band and 10 segments for KA band. There is no RDR option available, so it's a lot like, I guess, the Max CI 360. It has MRCD, it has MRCT. It does not have Stilca, and it does not have GATSO detection. I think that's only going to be for the international version. So maybe something to note if you're in Canada where they have it. Let's see, what else are you guys wondering? US, when are you planning on doing the actual test run? So I'm planning on Friday, but it's supposed to be rainy on Friday, and it's going to be kind of annoying for my wife to have to take the day off work. So we're doing it Friday if we can, but it's been raining constantly. Sunday looks like it should be better. So if we don't do Friday, we'll test it Sunday. The new RD Test app, if you haven't seen that, I used it for my last one. It's an Android app that actually uses the audio to actually mark when your detector goes off, and it's amazing. It's going to save me so much time for processing. And so I'm hopeful that I can get, if I test Sunday, I'll have the results up maybe Monday or Tuesday or something. So that's when I plan to have it up, but I'm planning on testing this weekend. We need to have a live drive right now. I'm not going to drive live streaming. I could do that with the Blackview. I could put a phone out and we could go for a drive and see if it goes off. I don't know if I want to live stream for like an hour, but I am kind of planning on actually grabbing, what is it? Where's my setup? So I've got the blend mount here. I usually take off the detector mount and I grab this and I grab one of the GoPros. You can see right there, got some GoPros. Mount this on it, and then I take the detector. Where the heck is my detector? I got stuff everywhere. Here it is. Basically mount the GoPro like this and mount it. You guys have seen it in the videos. That way I can see the detector. You can see the arrows, the frequency. You can see, you know, here's the detector. You can see the Honda over here or whatever car it is. So that's kind of my setup. So I'll need to switch over for this and go drive. So anyway, I guess that's it for now. I've been live streaming for an hour and 17 minutes. Any maybe last questions before I go put some gas in my car? I'm almost empty. I've been meaning to do that. I went to Costco the other day and I forgot my Costco card. So I had to use the phone to get in, but I didn't have my Costco card. So I'll go fill up at Costco, get some gas, take it for a drive, and we need to start using this thing. So before we go do that, what are some final questions that you guys have? I want to see the 6dB gain in action. Me too. Redline EX is on its way. Thank you so much, BRD, Best Radar Detectors. And thanks to Smoking U 454 for sending over your Redline original. I'll be testing those this weekend. V16 Lifestyle, thank you for bringing that up. That's something that I wanted to also mention. It is compatible with the ZR3, ZR5, and ZW5. Why don't they fix that in the app? You haven't sold the ZR3 in years. Call it ZW5 or call it Laser Shift or something. I don't know. There's no auto JTK setup. I have the ZW5s in my wife's car paired with her 360C, Max 360C. This is no longer, I guess, a 360C. Paired with her Max 360C. One annoying thing is if you disconnect the laser shifters, it'll actually throw an error code saying they're disconnected. I'm going to try with hers disconnecting it and then resetting it and see if it gets rid of that error thing. I don't want to try like connecting this to her laser shifters, then seeing, oh, does it work for stuff? And then for the rest of the time, always having it throw the laser shifter disconnected error. So I'm going to try it with hers first to make sure I can get rid of the error. And if I can get rid of it that way, then I'll try it with this. Oh, great question. Yes. So Tom Murphy, does it work with the Kenwood hen units like the Max 360C and the CI? Yes, it does work with that. There's actually a feature in the settings, which I didn't see. Maybe I missed it, but there's an option for interface 1 and interface 2. We'll plug this in here real quick and fire it up. So that's a weird option. Interface 1 is if you have it hooked up to the ZR5 and ZW5. excuse me, interface 2 is if you have it hooked up to like an aftermarket Kenwood head unit. Let's do that real quick. Settings. All right, so we'll go here into radar settings. There should be an option here for interface. I'm not seeing it though. It's weird. I did see it in the manual, but I'm not seeing it here in the option for. Am I missing it? Yeah, I'm not seeing it here, but yes, they do mention that it is compatible, and I'm sure it will be. Anyway, I'm getting kind of hungry. It is lunchtime. It is time to go out, take this guy for a spin, and see what it's like. So thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. I've got some additional information down in the video description, discussing things on the forums, the detector. We've actually been brainstorming testing, so things I kind of want to, the testing for this weekend, we've just been brainstorming what detectors to test, what settings we're going to use, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Costco, they advertise it's top tier gas, and it's cheaper than the other one, so that's why I use it. But anyway, take a look at that. If you want to help me with some of the testing that I'm planning this weekend, let me know what you want to test. I plan, of course, I'm doing BSM testing. Let's go do Spectre testing, long range testing, all that kind of stuff. That is to come. So that's it for now. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. This has been fun. Time to go see how this performs. Bye. I forget how I sign off. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys are doing well. All that kind of stuff. Actually, I am. I hope you guys are doing well. And I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.